Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Brian Craig. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and everyone like the video and click that notification bell if you don't mind. We got a lot to talk about on today's live stream. And, of course, I'm very excited. Woke up this morning very, very excited because I saw President Trump in person yesterday at the American Freedom Tour here in South Florida, which was absolutely amazing, and you'll see a vlog of that on this channel later today, which we'll talk about more. But that was just a great event, going to the American Freedom Tour, and I saw President Trump for the first time in a while speaking in person. I saw Don Jr. speak for the first time, Don Jr. is amazing and is, well, the most naturally gifted public speaker on news, issues, and politics that I've ever seen. In fact, I would go so far to say that Don Jr. should have been the replacement for Rush Limbaugh after the passing of Rush. I was just blown away by Don Jr. He's always great, though. I've seen him speak at rallies on television, but never in person before, and it was just electrifying. And there was a lot more there, but we'll talk about that later. Oh, man. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Yeah, so AOC is at it again. You know, I'm going to play this with AOC because I think it's really interesting because, you know, AOC views herself as a young person, even though, is she one of the over 30s yet? All right, she's 30, right? She's at least 30. She may be 31, but she still thinks she's this hipster, feminist role model and icon that all the youngins care about. And you know, it's really kind of it's a strange thing because AOC, you know what AOC is in the process of transforming into? I want you to think about this now. AOC is involved in a transformation process that she is not even aware of. She is transforming into Hillary Clinton. And what I mean by that is she's getting older and she still thinks she's a hipster with all the college kids and high schoolers too. But she's an out-of-touch person. And I got a couple videos here I want to play of AOC this week, and then we'll get into some of the more relevant news. But AOC, what's happening with AOC, and she doesn't even realize it. I'm going to tell you how after we watch the video, but AOC is losing touch with the pulse of who she thinks is her base. And this is a big theme with Democrats. They are not aware of this yet. You know, Democrats have completely lost touch with the pulse of the American people. And AOC, of course, is taking the lead with Joe. And, well, let me play the first video. Let's see here. This is the first one. Yeah, okay. She's doing this whisper thing. And, you know, AOC's live streams can be, they can be somewhat entertaining from time to time. But this one, she's trying to be a hipster. She's trying to be cool. Yes, she's going to share a secret, and she's going to do the creepy Biden whisper. Listen, though.
Tell you a secret. Most people don't really know what capitalism is. Most people don't even know what socialism is. But most people are not capitalists because they don't have capitalist money. They're not billionaires. Sometimes the label doesn't matter as much as just talking about policies. That's easier to understand. Do you think people should die because they can't afford insulin? Do you think that fossil fuel CEO should decide whether the planet gets set on fire? Me neither.
Okay. Okay. Meow. Mm-hmm. Meow. Sorry, guys. Hold on. I got to have a drink of my coffee. Almost done with my coffee, actually. Yeah. Okay. Now, a couple things here that I want to talk about because this is an important thing to talk about because I just think this is great. So she says most people aren't capitalists because you're not rich. And, you know, the trickle-down voodoo economics that they labeled Ronald Reagan with. By the way, does anyone know? I'll tell you in a second. I don't want to troll for this, but do you know who coined the slander against the great Ronald Reagan, calling his economic policies voodoo economics? Who do you think? New York Times, Washington Post, Jimmy Carter, Walter Mondale. Voodoo economics, the label attached to Ronald Reagan's economic policies that continue till this day in history books. George Bush, the father, Bush 41, when he was actually in the 1980 race, was running in the primaries for the Republican nomination against Ronald Reagan. And I think it was at a speech in New Hampshire. It's been a long time, but yeah, Bush Sr., Bush the father. But, you know, trickle-down economics, voodoo economics, we all take part in capitalism, right? Right? Like I got a couple dollars in my pocket. I went out and I got coffee. Right? I made the money in my pocket. The money in my pocket, I earned. And what did I do? I went to get my coffee, went to Starbucks, gave Starbucks my money, right? So that money trickled down from my employer to me. Then it trickled down to Starbucks. And now some of that coffee money, they're going to trickle down to their employees. That's capitalism. Everyone's a capitalist. You don't have to be rich to be a capitalist. It's, you know, what Obama called spreading the wealth around, but this is in a different way. But here's where I'm telling you she is losing touch with who she thinks is her base. Let me play this for you again.
Tell you a secret. Most people don't really know what capitalism is. Most people don't even know what socialism is.
Okay, I'll tell you what socialism is. Democrat socialist, okay? Like she calls herself, AOC calls herself a Democrat socialist. Bernie Sanders calls himself a Democrat socialist. There's no such thing as a Democrat socialist. It's a lie. They're communist. They're communist. And, you know, Ronald Reagan talked about this, how the American people wouldn't accept communism, but if you say everything on the communist platform and call it socialism, you know, liberals, Democrats will accept every last tenet of it. That Ronald Reagan talked about that quite a bit throughout his entire life. And what a Democrat socialist is a communist, that's AOC, Bernie Sanders, a communist that's afraid to come out of the closet as a communist because even with their wackadoodle base, communism is just too far for them. So it's like someone who is gay and they're not confident coming out as gay, so they first say they're bisexual, and then down the road they tell you they're gay. There's no such thing as Democrat socialism. It's a lie. But there's another reason I played this. Hold on.
Tell you a secret. Most people don't really know what capitalism is. Most people don't even know what socialism is. But most people are not capitalists because they don't have capitalist money.
Okay. Like I said, all money's capital. Okay, now this is where AOC is so out of touch with the people she thinks are her base of support. This is an Instagram live video that AOC did. Okay, AOC does Instagram lives, and they're pretty funny sometimes. And I'm sure this is true in a lot of your communities. I know it's true in my community here in Florida. A lot of places that are entry-level jobs where teenagers and people in their 20s used to work are having a hard time finding employees now, right? And there's several reasons for that. But one of the reasons is a lot of people that are in high school and in their 20s make a living online somehow. They might be an Instagram influencer or a TikToker, right? Or they may be, one of these girls that has one of those, OnlyFans things going on. Okay, you know what I'm talking about? They might be a YouTuber. A lot of young people are making a living, some pretty big livings, but some, enough to get by, to pay their cell phone bill and their gas money or whatever, by not going out and working at the mall like, a lot of people did in my generation, or a fast food restaurant like McDonald's or something. They make a living as an Instagram, TikTok influencer or a YouTuber. And because of that, now this is where AOC is losing touch with that generation of people. If they make their living on any of the ways I just shared with you, they're not an employee for a company. They're an independent contractor, 1099 employee. So what happens, whatever money they make as an influencer on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, OnlyFans, or something, they get a 1099. No deductions have been taken out of their income for the entire year. And this young generation that doesn't want to go work at the mall or McDonald's, because they're 1099 employees, they owe taxes. Not only do they owe, and they may not own enough. They may not make enough to owe income taxes, so to speak, but they do have to pay self-employment taxes, which is their Social Security and Medicare, even if they don't make a lot of money. And there's this whole generation of slacker Gen Zs and millennials that are they are now because like when I was that age, when I was in high school or in my early 20s, and I worked at a grocery store here in Florida, Publix. I'd get a check. I didn't make a lot of money, but they took out the taxes for the year, my Medicare, my Social Security, that kind of stuff, right? And I might get a little bit back when I did my taxes. Now people that make that little bit of money because they're 1099 employees still owe self-employment tax. So they're feeling the pinch. They gotta send money to, and it's tax time. They gotta send money to the government every year when they do their taxes with all these new alternative sources. So AOC here, when she's talking about people not being capitalists, they don't pay taxes. It used to be when young people had those kind of jobs, you paid taxes, but you really didn't realize it. Oh, yeah, you had some payroll deductions. You didn't think about it this much. But now at the end of the year, at tax time, which is next month, they're going to find out they owe money. They got to send a check in to the government. And this is something people usually find out when they're about 30, 35, 40 years old. Now they're finding out about it at 16 because they're an online influencer. So, I think that the millennials are older than you think, right? Millennials are AOC and Mayor Pete. The generation under them, they're going to find huge numbers of conservatives among them because they're sending money into the government as a taxpayer many years earlier in life than my generation did, which is Gen X. So, she's really out of touch. But then she goes on some things here. Let me rewind it because it's so short and it's only 30 seconds.
Tell you a secret. Most people don't really know what capitalism is. Most people don't even know what socialism is. But most people are not capitalists because they don't have capitalist money.
Mm-hmm.
They're not billionaires. Sometimes the label doesn't matter as much as just talking about policies. That's easier to understand. Do you think people should die because they can't afford insulin?
Who thinks people should die because they can't afford insulin? Of course, nobody thinks that.
Do you think that fossil fuel CEOs should decide whether the planet gets set on fire?
Now, fossil fuel... fossil fuel is an inaccurate label, by the way. That's what they call oil. Oil does not come from dinosaurs. It does not come from plants. It does not come from animals. The earth itself manufactures oil deep beneath our crust, But that doesn't even make sense. Why would a fossil fuel, an oil company CEO, want to set the world on fire? Because if they set the world on fire, they're no longer going to make money, right? If they're greedy, and all they get, her position is that these oil company, fossil fuel CEOs only care about money. Well, if that's true, why would they want to set their money-making machine on fire, which is the world? They don't want everyone dead and burned up, because there's no more money to be made then. Right? And so that doesn't even pass that smile test sometimes that we talk about. But hey, these are the liberals, and this is how they This is how they think, and this is how they view the world. Welcome. If you're just joining us on the stream, my name is Brian Craig. If you're new here, please subscribe. And everyone else, please like the video. Click that notification bell. Coming up at 6 p.m. Eastern Time today, my vlog from the Trump rally that I went to yesterday will be up live on YouTube, so you guys can check that out. Yeah, she said we had, was it 11 or 12 years that the Earth had left? And was that 3 years ago? Oh, my goodness. So we got like 9 years, 8 years. Oh, man, oh, man. You know, I tell you. I'm not going to play the other video with AOC. I was going to play the video with AOC. I wanted to, let me see here. Let's start with this one here, because this is going to be a story that's going to be in the news a lot starting this week. If the news can break away from Russia and Ukraine, but yeah. Senator Grassley calls for Judge Jackson records amid GOP scrutiny over child porn sentencing. And the White House is pushing back. What does that mean? They're pushing back. Well, they don't want these things released? No, let's read this article here. You know, she's got Ketanji Brown Jackson has got a lot of strange things in her background. And part of the problem that people of her generation are running into is she's from a very radical period. It may not seem like it, but she came to age, through the early 90s and things. And I've talked about this when she was first named. And notice how no one talks about how she's related to Paul Ryan, right? She's in Paul Ryan's family. No one's even talking about that. I've been talking about it, but no one else is talking about it. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Let me move my mic a little bit. Ooh, it's noisy. Hold on, one more time. There we go. I got to get some WD-40 on my microphone stand. A little loud there. But anyway, Ketanji here, she's from what I call the O.J. Simpson generation of law. And what the O.J. Simpson generation of law is, it's pretty simple. It's if you remember the day of the O.J. Simpson verdict, when CNN, they had a split screen. They had one camera in the O.J. Simpson courtroom, and they had another camera in an auditorium at Howard University, which is the traditional black college, and they were law students to get their reaction when the not guilty, or when the verdict came out. And everyone knew O.J. killed both of them. I mean, it was just no debate. And when the verdict came in, not guilty, that O.J. Simpson was found not guilty of killing two people he clearly was guilty of killing, the Howard Law School students jumped up in joy and celebrated like their team just won the Super Bowl, the World Series, the World Cup, the NBA championships, and everything else, the Olympics, everything. They were just going nuts. And that's Ketanji's generation, which was really a radical generation, and also... it's that Obama era, too, generation. So you've got some really radicalized Democrats that now are making their way up to these levels, okay? And you're going to find a lot of problems, and she's got some, okay? Listen to this. Senator Chuck Grassley is calling for records related to Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's time on the U.S. Sentencing Commission ahead of her Supreme Court confirmation hearing next week. That's this week. Amid Republican claims she was overly lenient to child pornographers. See, now there's two problems with this now, because if you remember, she had written a paper for the Harvard Law Review. And in this paper she wrote for the Harvard Law Review, she said that the American justice system is overly harsh and discriminates against sex offenders. Right? So that's what, and now we're finding that there's problems with her sentencing. So amid Republican claims she was overly lenient to child pornographers, which are some of the most low-life people in society, right? A charge that the White House is branding debunked and desperate as a conspiracy theory. Judge Jackson's history of sentencing below guidelines, particularly in cases involving child exploitation, raises legitimate questions about her views on penalties for these crimes, Grassley, the ranking Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee, said in a statement on Saturday. This is exactly why I asked for her sentencing commission records. Now, if what the White House is saying is true, nothing to see here, then these records are going to clear her. We're going to get these records if the White House is true, what they're saying is true, that this is unfounded conspiracy theory, that these records of hers involving the sentencing of these different things are going to totally exonerate her, and all these Republicans are just a bunch of racist old white guys that are after her because they're racist, and there's nothing to see here. The fact that they don't want people to see the records shows that they're nervous about what will be found. Okay, let's see here. I lost my spot here. This is exactly why I asked for her sentencing commission records, the same types of records the committee traditionally reviews when vetting a Supreme Court nominee, he said. Grassley said the records from the Sentencing Commission were being withheld and said that a full review could not properly be conducted without. Why are they withholding the records? Well, I guess they're right. There must be something in there. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. You're going to put her on the Supreme Court of the United States for the rest of her life, and you're not going to let people see her sentencing records? What is up with that? Oh, boy. If it's true that she's soft on these sex offenders, why does she have sympathy for sex offenders? Unfortunately, somebody somewhere doesn't want us to see the information. How can this be a thorough review if the information is withheld, Senator Grassley said. And why aren't Democrats interested in allowing the committee to have this information to conduct a thorough review? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Grassley's call comes after Senator Josh Hawley this week used a lengthy Twitter thread to accuse Jackson, who Biden nominated to fill the seat of outgoing Justice Stephen Breyer, of a pattern of letting child porn offenders off the hook for their appalling crimes, both as a judge and policymaker. Oh, my goodness. You know, this should be it for her. This should be just it for her. Oh, my goodness. Senator Hawley laid out evidence for what he said was a consistent theme of Jackson both calling for more lenient treatment of some sex offenders and deviating from federal sentencing guidelines in favor of child sex offenders. Whew. This is so strange. I mean, this is, you know, I didn't see this one coming. In particular, he said, when serving on the U.S. Sentencing Commission, Jackson advocated for drastic change in a report on mandatory minimums for those engaged in child pornography. These are the scummiest people on earth, child pornographers, and I'll tell you something. By the way, I'm reading from an article that's on Fox. This is the thing with sex offenders, right? They're always going to reoffend. They're always going to reoffend. So you want them locked up, and you want them locked up forever if you can. These people are sick. This is something else. It's a series of claims that led to pushback from media fact-checkers, with Hawley himself has issued a response to and blistering criticism from the White House. But again, they're holding the records. They're not releasing the records. The records that they say would clear her, they're not releasing. Jen Psaki Friday called Hawley's push a last-ditch, eve of hearing, desperation attack on her record on sentencing and sexual offense cases. Well, release the records, Psaki. Let's clear Latangi, whatever her name is. White House spokesperson Andrew Bates on Saturday took aim at both Hawley and Grassley in a statement in which he noted that the Sentencing Commission recommendations were far from a bipartisan panel that included Trump-era pick Dabney Frederick. Well, just because the panel included someone that Trump picked doesn't mean that the Trump pick agreed with Tangi here. Josh Hawley's desperate conspiracy theory has been conclusively debunked by multiple fact checks in the press. Well, let's get the records to the committee and debunk them in front of the committee then, in front of the American people, not a bunch of fake news media that no one trusts. Let's see here. Including the Washington Post, AP, and CNN. Oh, the people that debunked the laptop. Okay, so to put this in context, the White House spokesperson on Saturday said, Josh Hawley's desperate conspiracy theory has been conclusively debunked by multiple fact-checkers in the press who also debunked Hunter Biden's laptop, which was just recently confirmed by the New York Times. Okay, I get it now. These people. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. We'll get it. The analysis by Judiciary Republicans found also that as a judge, she routinely handed out light sentences, but was especially lenient in child pornography cases. What the hell? On average, Jackson's sentencing was just over 3 years below the sentence requested by prosecutors. So, what? And approximately 5 years below the bottom of the sentencing guidelines range, the analysis found. So she has a record of consistently giving the lightest sentence she could get away with to people that are the lowest scum on the earth. Bates responding to that claim. Bates is the White House spokesperson over the weekend. Psaki wasn't around. Cited a CNN fact check. Remember CNN, who debunked the laptop of Hunter Biden, found that such discrepancy from guidelines was not surprising, as it has become a norm among judges to issue sentences below the guidelines in these child porn cases. Really? I haven't heard that one before. Well, if that's true, you got to look at a lot of judges. You know they're in trouble when they're saying, this has been debunked by the fact checkers at CNN. You know they're in trouble when that is where they're going. Oh, my goodness. These people. Oh, man, I tell you, good morning. Welcome, everyone. If you're just joining us, make sure you subscribe and, of course, like the video if you don't mind. Now, I want to take a moment to tell everyone about the Thomas Edison of sleep. That's right, the inventor of the MyPillow, Mike Lindell. That's right. And if you would like to support all the content I put together, my YouTube channel, my podcast, the Steve Kane Radio Show, and everything else I do, a great way for you to do that is go to MyPillow.com and buy any of these great products using our promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout for incredible deals. And when you go to MyPillow.com, you'll see this pop-up window comes up where you have an opportunity to save another $10 off the already low prices that they are offering. Look at this. The MyPillow towels. I have these towels dried off with my MyPillow towel just this morning, right? And this is a quote from Mike Lindell. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And these towels are spectacular. You know, they dry your body just with the touch. I've never had a perfect towel before until I had the MyPillow towels, which are spectacular. Now, regularly, I'm standing in front of the price, but the regular price is $109.98. With our promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, just $39.99. These make great gifts for mom, too, and they come in multiple colors, and you can, at these prices, you can buy multiple sets. The MyPillow 100% Giza Cotton Dream Sheets. My wife and I have 4 sets of these sheets, 2 flannel, 2 regular, 60% off, as low as $39.99 with our promo code KANE at checkout. And, of course, you're also standing and supporting Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell, who's spending $1 million of his own money a week with his new apps. He's got Frank Speech, which, by the way, Frank Speech is available as an app now in both the Google Play and Apple App Store, and the app is spectacular. Very easy to use. And he's got a new app, which has not been released yet, that's going to be his alternative to Facebook. $1 million a week of his own money. So when you go to MyPillow.com, you use our promo code KANE, K-A-N-E. Many great deals here. Take advantage of them all if you can, as many as you can. I have so many of these products. You're supporting not just all the content I put together with the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, but the great Mike Lindell. These all make great Mother's Day gifts, too, which will be here before you know it. The MyPillow My Slippers, 50% off. and they come in multiple styles and colors as well. The MyPillow bathrobes, 30% off with the promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. The mattress topper, 50% off with the promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And there's many other great deals. Take advantage of them. Support my content. Support Mike Lindell. And just have the best night's sleep you've ever had. And dry off better than you ever had, too, with all of these great products. Remember, promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout. All right, now, I wanted to just talk about this briefly. President Trump and Don Jr. We're talking about this. Leah Thomas. Now, the story here, Leah Thomas finished in 8th place in this final race, a 100-yard freestyle. I believe Leah Thompson threw this race. I believe Leah Thompson, because everyone's being very critical. Even President Trump was very detailed, very detailed last night in his speech about Leah Thomas breaking these records. You know, the one record that Leah Thomas broke was by 38 seconds. It was a record that had been in place for 11 years. And there was a lady swimmer who thought she might be able to break the record by like 100th of a second or something. And Leah Thomas has set these records that just will never be broken. Not by a woman, because they're an 11-year record stood. Now broken by 38 seconds. This is, But Leah Thomas finishes 8th in this final college race. And I think Leah Thomas threw that race. I think Leah Thomas is what happened. Finally, some of the swimmers are standing up. You saw the other 3 swimmers went off to the side, and they declared themselves first, second, and third, and wouldn't stand next to Leah Thomas. And Leah Thomas did an interview just a couple days ago after one of these races, and that was the first time I had seen Leah Thomas in an interview. Maybe you've seen Leah Thomas in other interviews, but that was the first time I saw Leah Thomas in an interview. It was a brief poolside interview commenting on the race. And between that interview, I think that interview got a lot of people thinking, well, wait a minute, what that is it? And this is the question I think people are actually openly talking about for the first time in the mainstream. Is Leah Thomas transgender or just a cheater who's scamming the system? And when you see that interview, pretty masculine in the interview, right? And I think that mainstream people have now realized that Leah Thomas is not a transitioning person, biological male transitioning to female, but a male swimmer who was ranked in like 200 and something with the boys and is cheating. That's what I think's going on. And I know Caitlyn Jenner's all over Fox News talking about this, and I'd love them to get into that aspect of it, because I definitely think that's what's in play here. And Leah Thomas threw this final race because Leah Thomas is cracking under the pressure. I mean, that's what I would say. You guys can let me know. By the way, if you'd like to call in here live on the stream, at the top of the chat, I pinned the call-in number. You're certainly welcome to call in about any of the things I brought up so far, or something you have on your mind if you think it's relevant to the conversation. The number is 561-453-0328. 561-453-0328. And again, the number is pinned right at the top, and you can call in live right here on the stream, and we'll talk. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Anyone know who this is? Tell me in the chat if you know who this is on my coffee cup. If you're watching later, tell me in the comments, who is this on my coffee cup? Anyone know? Let me know. Just see how many Star Wars fans. I did talk a little bit about the rally earlier, Metro, and it was spectacular. I'll talk about it more later, but today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I made a vlog of the Trump rally that I went to yesterday, and it will be right here on my YouTube channel today at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Oh, boy. So you can watch my vlog, and it was pretty exciting. I got to tell you, it was so exciting. And I'll tell you, when President Trump came out, I mean, I was tearing up when he came out. It was absolutely amazing. I was there for 11 and a half hours. And I didn't live stream yesterday because I had gotten a message that I had to get there a little early. And even though I got there early, I didn't quite get there early enough. But so I did not get to see Sarah Huckabee Sanders speak. She was the first speaker. I missed her because I was tied up with it. It took a while to get through security. But, so I missed her. But I saw everybody else, including Kim Guilfoyle and others. Oh, let's go. Let's take a call. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Happy Sunday, Brian. This is AJ from Louisiana.
AJ from Louisiana. What's up, AJ?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Leah Thompson threw that race or whatever it was that, I don't know, call them a he, she, whatever. I think they're cracking down on him is what I'm thinking.
Well, I think he threw the race because he was winning so much. He panicked and said, I better lose something.
Yeah.
Because it looks like I'm
true.
cheating. But I think Leah Thomas is cheating. I don't think Leah Thomas is transitioning.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think Leah Thompson is one of these that, naturally, men are stronger than girls. I mean, and and maybe as a child he couldn't win no races or nothing, and
Well, he was Leah Thomas before the transition thing was racing on the boys swim team and was ranked like 250 or something, and now is number one in the world as with the women now.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to call in, so say hello and keep up the good work. And
well, thank you.
Sorry, I can't call during the week when you're on the radio, but like I said, I'm busy.
That's okay. I get it.
I want to ask you something, and I thought of this when I was listening to you on your replay Thursday when you're talking about Ukraine and and not taking those terms. I think those are very reasonable terms. I just wonder if Zelensky ain't in cahoots with Biden trying to help him get his agenda through.
Of course. Listen, everyone knows for many years Ukraine has been a corrupt place where Washington crooks go. What was the name of Trump's first campaign manager they put in prison? Manafort.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember what Manafort went to prison for?
Something. I think I can't honestly remember. It's been so long.
It was financial corruption with Ukraine. All these, both parties of the political establishment have been doing corrupt business dealings in Ukraine for years. And, Paul Manafort, I believe that that President Trump was set up into hiring Paul Manafort. Yeah. And let me tell you what I mean by this, okay? They knew, when I say they, I'm talking about the Republican establishment, okay, and that were panicked of President Trump. They knew that Paul Manafort was involved in corruption in Ukraine because they're involved in corruption in Ukraine. They're part of the club. So they knew he was corrupt with his Ukrainian deals like Biden and all the rest, right? If you remember when we were getting up to the convention, they were talking about a brokered convention, giving someone else the nomination. And then they started saying, well, we may have a brokered convention. There has not been one in the modern era. President Trump needs a delegate. They had a name for it. President Trump needs a convention delegate. It's hard to say, right? A convention delegate wrangler. And there's only one delegate wrangler in D.C. because this hasn't happened in so long, and that's Paul Manafort. If he doesn't hire Paul Manafort, there's going to be a broker convention, and someone else is going to wrangle the delegates, and it's going to be Ted Cruz or someone else with the nomination. So they tricked President Trump into hiring Paul Manafort, knowing they were going to go after him with the Ukraine deal that they knew all about because they're involved in corrupt Ukrainian deals. These conspirators against Trump are deeper and more devious than you realize.
Oh, I know. And honestly, I tell you what, I hope when Trump comes back in 24 that he brings in his own people.
Oh yeah, he'll have a whole new team. He'll have a whole new
Yeah.
team. It was so great. To, yeah, go ahead.
And I gotta go because I gotta go walk the dog. But
Okay.
yeah, I gotta walk Dolly. But right quick, you talking about Mike Lindell and what they did to him, man, canceling him, taking him out of stores and all that. That was wrong too. The man just making a living like everybody else.
Well, and he has thousands of employees who make a living working for Mike Lindell, and those employees have families. So tens of thousands of people are hurt by the home shopping channels and these box stores throwing out My Pillow. It's disgusting. It's disgusting what they do. They're sick people.
I mean, you think driving a garbage truck was my dream job, but it's how I make my living, paying my bills and stuff.
Hey, it's a living. That's a great career.
Yeah. And speaking of Mike Lindell, I had an idea for a new product. I wish I could get in touch with him.
Mm-hmm. What is it?
Okay. Well, you know how at work, especially like construction side, especially us, we have to wear those heavy steel-toe boots. I was wondering if he could make like some insoles that go, like those Dr. Scholl's, that go inside.
Oh, My Pillow insoles? I'll pass it along to him. I gave Mike Lindell's people an idea that Wisconsin Gary gave. Wisconsin Gary is a truck driver, and he has the My Pillow mattress and the mattress topper, and the mattress topper comes in every size mattress there is, from twin up to California King and every size in between. Including the RV. There's special RV mattress sizes. It comes in that. And Wisconsin Gary said that it would be really cool if My Pillow offered mattress toppers for truck drivers and their beds in the trucks. I passed that on to them. So if one day you see that idea come to life, I'll tell them.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, man, that would be good for us, because I remember you talking about those slippers or whatever, like that you wear around the house and everywhere. And I was thinking to myself one day, I was like, man, wish they could make like some insoles for work boots and stuff.
I'll pass it on to him. In fact, I got a phone conference with Mike Lindell's office on Monday or Tuesday this week. I got to check, and I'll pass that along to him.
Because I was just thinking, because I can't wear comfortable shoes at work for safety reasons, obviously.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I was just
absolutely.
But I was thinking, man, if he'd make some of those, I'd buy a pair for sure.
Okay, I'll tell him this week.
Well, I appreciate it, Brian, and you have a blessed Sunday, and I'll hope to listen to you on the radio next week or tomorrow when I go back to work. I just wish I can call in when you're live because
that's
we're
okay.
so busy.
You can call me on the weekends. Weekends work too.
Yeah, but I think those like insoles for work boots would be
Hey, listen,
good.
Appreciate the idea. I'll pass it along. Take care, all right?
Thank you, Brian. You
have a great day. Bye. Okay. Oh, somebody had asked about Bongino. Yeah, Dan Bongino spoke yesterday at the Trump rally. It was actually the American Freedom Tour, which if you go online, AmericanFreedomTour.com, they're traveling all over the country, and it's a ticketed event, and they're at indoor venues, I think, every time, which is nice because there's air conditioning in the Florida heat. It was hot yesterday morning. Oh my goodness. But Dan Bongino was, of course, very spectacular, but Dan Bongino, it was the first time I had seen Bongino in person, and he is much different in person than he appears on TV. And I'll tell you, there's yes, I did see Stacey Abrams as the president of the Earth on Star Trek Discovery. Yes. Yes, apparently obesity has not been conquered in the future because she was on Star Trek Discovery. Yes, I know Stacey Abrams. They made her president of the Earth. But anyway, Dan Bongino is very different in person in a couple ways. He is skinny. He's skinny. Now I know TV adds weight, and I know when I live stream during the week, I live stream on my iPhone. Now I'm using my iMac right now. And I know the iPhone adds weight to me, makes me look heavier than I am. But Dan Bongino is a lot skinnier than I thought. I was expecting him to be like buff and big, and he's skinny. He's very skinny, which I thought just took me back a little bit. And then he's a very nice guy, Dan Bongino, and his speech was spectacular. I mean, he gave a great speech. It was spectacular. He knocked it out of the park, and it was he came on like Dan Bongino. He had cancer. Yeah, he came on after like a break period, and he got the crowd. Which, by the way, the arena was completely full. And I was there all day. Okay, and by the time Don Jr. and Trump were there wasn't an empty seat. And no, the only time there were empty seats are when people take pee breaks, or go to the snack bar. It was a full house, and he got the crowd going. So I was surprised how skinny he is, but also he's cool. He's not. There's no ego with. You think he's skinny because he had cancer? Yeah, maybe that's possible, Amy. He is a very down to earth guy, with no ego and no celebrity airs. In fact, he was nervous. He had a little bit of stage fright, which I could tell when he first. I get stage fright sometimes. Even sometimes when I'm on the air, you get stage fright as part of the business. Not so much on the radio, but I get stage fright too sometimes. Stage fright is anxiety, and he was nervous, and I could tell when he first got out there. I could see it in his left hand a little bit. And he said something about it. He says a little bit. He says, "I'm a little nervous. I haven't given a speech in a while." And he was wearing like tight jeans, and but his speech was spectacular and really out of this world good. And he talked a lot about the laptop and stuff. And I was pretty impressed by Bongino in person. And Candace Owens is pregnant again. As soon as she walked out, I knew she was pregnant because of what she was wearing, and then she said during her speech she was pregnant. But it was great. And Kim Guilfoyle, this is the first time I saw how tall is he. It was hard to tell because he was up on the stage and he was wearing boots, with like a little heel in them. So I really couldn't tell how tall he was. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was surprised that he was nervous, which really surprised me. But once he got going, I mean, it was just like watching him on the 5 with Geraldo. He was very, very good. Very, very good. And Kim Guilfoyle, I've never seen Kim Guilfoyle speak in person before. She was great. And Don Jr. was just, Yeah, I knew she was pregnant when I saw her walk out, what she was wearing. She was wearing very baggy clothes, and I said, oh, she's pregnant again. And she mentioned it during her talk. But when President Trump came out, I was tearing up. I mean, I was really. I'm sure I was not the only one, that was tearing up because it was just an amazing experience. Yeah, well, my YouTube vlog that I made will be on my channel at 6 p.m. Eastern time this afternoon. I did the editing and uploaded it this morning, and since I'm doing a live stream right now, I didn't want to upload it right now, so I'll upload it. It'll be up there. It's already there. It's just going to pop up. No, it's not going to be a premiere because it's not going to be a chat room, but it'll pop up live at 6 p.m. It's like a 12-minute video I made of the whole day that I was there. And I met so many listeners. Oh, my goodness. I met so many listeners to me and Steve from the radio and people from YouTube, and it was pretty exciting. There was, I got there and I got my seat, and I was sitting in this seat. I went by myself. Yesterday was my daughter's 23rd birthday, and I wanted her to go with me, but she didn't want to go because it was her birthday. She would do other things. I get it. It's her 23rd birthday. But so I went by myself, and I mean, everywhere I went, I met listeners or people who watch here on YouTube, which is pretty exciting. And I was in my seat, and I was by myself, so I had people next to me, people on both sides I never knew. And this guy and his wife next to me, they were sitting next to me for hours. And then there was a break between speakers, and they wanted to go walk around. And the guy says, Brian, can you save my seat? I didn't even know. This guy was a listener sitting next to me. He didn't say anything to me for like 3 hours. And I said, oh, hey, how you doing? But it was nice to meet. If you were there, and I met you, good to meet you. And it's always nice to meet people that, in the old days when I started out in radio, I get recognized when I would go places sometimes. But now because of YouTube and the internet and everything, I get people come up to you more. So So it's nice. Candace Owens was very, very good. Oh, I thought she was very good. I've never seen her speak in person before, but other than President Trump, because he was the greatest, of course. I mean, and President Trump's speech, when you watch my video, by the end of the day, because I was there 11 and a half hours, I was running low on battery on my phone because I vlog on my iPhone. And I was running low as I was getting towards the end, and so I was only recording parts of President Trump's speech, to put on the vlog. I was going to put the whole speech up, and I started filming at this one particular time, and I started filming right at the same time. President Trump dropped a massive F-bomb. I put the clip on Truth Social and on my Marco Polo group. So if you follow me on Truth Social at Real Brian Craig or on Marco Polo, you've seen it. He dropped an F-bomb just as I started recording. It was awesome. And this lady behind me, she said, "Oh, you started filming right at the right time for that one." She said, "Did you catch that?" I said, "Yeah." And when you see it, it'll be 6 p.m. this afternoon. When President Trump drops the F-bomb, I have a clip-on mic, like I wear on the radio. I have another one that I vlog with. I have on my shirt, and I'm like, whoa, you hear me yell, get excited when it happens. It wasn't the only time he used profanity, but it's always appropriate when President Trump uses profanity. And I'll tell you, he read the snake. And seeing him read the snake in person, it was just an amazing thing. So if you guys have an opportunity, the American Freedom Tour, I don't know if it's coming to your town. Go to the way. I don't know where else it's coming. But let me look. Let me just pull it up here. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. See if it's got any other dates announced, because this is, let's see. Let me see. Events. No, they don't have any upcoming dates announced. So that was the last one oh no, they have one in December. But where is this one at? It doesn't say. Let's see. Well, it doesn't, I don't see any other dates announced on there yet. So, but if I look, it's American Freedom Tour. You can keep up with it. You're still on 384,000 on the wait list. Well, yeah, the snake, a lot of people are like, I don't want him to read the snake again. The snake is spectacular because, I've heard that my whole life, the snake. And, it's about not trusting Democrats or the establishment. They're all snakes, and you can't trust them. And they may work with you. You may help them out, but in the end, they're going to get you because they're snakes. No, Right Side Broadcasting was not there. There was no media there. But Truth Social is they do not have a deal with Google for the Google Play Store for the app yet. They call it a wraparound where, I know a lot of you guys have probably dealt with this with Gab when they weren't in the app stores, but there's a way for you to get it, as an app looking icon on your phone, but it is on the iPhone. And, I was starting to get discouraged because Kathy had been on, she was on 2 weeks before I was, and we both signed up on the same day, like 10 hours apart. When we got our accounts, and I was really getting discouraged. I mean, I knew my account was there. I had gotten notifications and things, so I knew it was there. But I was like getting really discouraged. And then when I woke up the other morning, was it Friday morning? I think it was Friday morning, and I saw that it was active. I was so excited. So I got my picture up. I got my profile set up, and I've been on it. Are the tickets expensive? The cheapest tickets they have are $9. The tickets I have and the seat I sat in were $100. And they have some seats that are like, $1,000 plus down on the floor right in the stage. But I had been, the venue where this was at, I could have gotten a better seat using my big shot media, call them up or something, but I didn't do it because this venue that it was at, I've been to 50 times. It's where the Florida Panthers play. I've been there for concerts, church events. It's where I went to the CNN town hall after the Parkland shooting with Loomer. I've been to a Trump rally there. I've been to, took my daughter to see an American Idol concert and everything. And I know where the best seats are for the stage. So, So, and a lot of people want to be down on the floor, and you don't want to be down on the floor. And I could have been down on the floor. If I had have called them up, I could have gotten some, comp tickets like right in front of the stage, right, like pretty close. But what happens when you're on the floor? What happens when you're at the floor of a concert and the band comes out? Everyone stands up, right? So I know where to sit. I know where to sit in that arena so that I do not have any obstructed view and I can see the stage. So that's what I did. So where I was at was the $100 seats. But the nosebleed seats were $160. Well, they did raise the prices right before the event when things got scarce. But it was a full house. You'll see in the video I show the arena, and I even show the arena during a break when everyone goes for their pee breaks, and even then you could see how busy and full that it was. Oh yeah, it was great. The whole thing was great, and he brought up a lot of new stories about his time in the White House that I've never heard in this detail before. Right? I mean, some of them he told that you've heard about vaguely, but he gave a lot more detail about some things that he's referenced before, and it was all new stuff. It was very relevant. He talked a lot about Leah Thomas, the swimmer. He was talking about things that were in the news yesterday, which was great. So it wasn't a canned speech, or really it was not anything you've ever heard before, except the snake. It was all new. Which was, it doesn't matter. He could have been reading a speech that he gave 6 years ago. I would have felt the same way. But it was all new stuff, and I was hanging on his every word. He brought his caddy with him, too. He brought his caddy, which I thought was pretty class act that he did. And my daughter said that she saw his helicopter fly over the house last night, going back to Mar-a-Lago from the arena. Because, the flight path to the arena from Mar-a-Lago is directly over my house, and I missed it. She came in last night, and she said, yeah, I saw. He spoke for over an hour. As crazy as it sounds, I didn't look at my watch once while President Trump was speaking, so I don't know exactly how long, but it was over an hour, and it was very good. And that was a long day for me because I was going to yesterday I was going to live stream around 6 or 6:30, and I woke up yesterday at about 3:15. But when I do live streams, even today, I get up about 3:30 in the morning and do show prep. I go through the news, get new stuff to talk about. Then I got to after I do that, I got to decide what the thumbnail and title is going to be. So I got to make the thumbnail and upload it and everything. So it takes me, when I do a live stream here in the morning, I spend about 2 hours or so preparing. So yesterday morning, I got up about 3:30 to prepare for yesterday's live stream, and then I got an email from the people putting on the rally telling me I had to get there earlier for something. So I just didn't have time to do a live stream yesterday. That's why I stopped. I did a quick live stream when I got my coffee on the way there in the morning. So, but that's all I had time for. But it was great. And I'll tell you, I liked it. Blacks for Trump were there. Maurice from Blacks for Trump ran into him. The event, in a way, it was a little different than a rally because it was a ticketed event. Everybody had a seat. When you go to a rally, you may not get a seat. You may have to stand. And if you got to stand all day like that, it can be rough. So everybody had a seat. And it was nice that it was inside because it was really hot here in South Florida yesterday. But no, he was. And I'll tell you another thing, too. You'll see this on the video. And remember, my vlog is going to be up at 6 p.m. Eastern today. He looks great. He looks great. And I mean this. I think he looks younger than he did when he came down the escalator. Plus, he's got, his skin looks great because he's golfing. He had his caddy with him, right? He's golfing. So, he's got sun. You know, when he was in the White House, he's just, inside all day. He's not playing golf as much as he normally does. So he looks great. Where am I? This is my home studio where I podcast from. If you're asking where I am, so I'm in my home, is where I'm at. This is a spare bedroom that we have converted into a podcast production studio. All the commercials you hear me do on my podcast or on the radio, I record right here with this mic. And then back over here, Kathy and I have a podcast studio. And where I'm at now is where I do all my audio production work. And then my daughter got me set up with this green screen setup and everything that I have. But yeah, it was pretty spectacular. So so look for that vlog later today, guys. This is just insane. A professor at the State University of New York was reported after they told his class that race and gender relations had improved since the 1930s. Now, what were they reporting for? Teaching kids the truth? Let me get into this. The professor, whose name has not been reported, had apparently began his first class of the semester by saying he was not one of those America is evil academics. Well, that's probably what really got him in trouble. According to a student who filed a complaint against the professor also allegedly said that younger generations need to understand that America has made progress since the 1930s, and that we should be proud of how far we've come as a society relating to race and gender relations. The professor apparently went on to say that when he was growing up, women only aspired to mediocrity. But that was not the case anymore, and that things are better now. A student taking the class took offense and reported the professor to the bias response team. Are you freaking kidding me? The bias response team? An avenue for students and staff to report each other over perceived insults. Perceived insults, not even actual insults, just something that you perceive as an insult. This complaint was uncovered by the College Fix, who received the documentation from a Freedom of Information Act request. The names of those who were reported and the complaints were redacted from the documents they were provided. The student that filed the complaint claimed this seemed incredibly tone-deaf and completely unnecessary and unrelated to our syllabus. Who has ever even considered questioning the syllabus of a college professor? I couldn't even imagine doing such a thing. It made me sick to my stomach, this is the student, because it was clear that people had tried to educate him. So the professor is to be educated by his students now? And he was firmly within his beliefs and ignorance, the student added. The Fix reported that the student also claimed the professor had said that many people today blame outside sources, such as discrimination, for their problems, instead of taking accountability for themselves. The report against the professor was not the only one discovered. They discovered 3 other complaints. Okay, something about Peter Pan? Wait. Other complaints included, I was going to stop, but let me see. They mentioned Peter Pan. Other complaints included a professor who used the term, what is this? REDSKN and SQU, what is it? When discussing Peter Pan. A student who yelled, "Shut up, I'm trying to sleep," at a BLM protest, and a dorm resident who called the room, oh my God, I'm not even going to say that. Okay. Okay, but let's get back to this. I'll just focus on these other bizarre things. He said race relations have improved since the 30s. He got reported. He's in trouble. See, this is one of the things that the left are doing, okay? And they've had a lot of success in this when it comes to the education system. The left This story doesn't surprise me. No, the left do not want people in this country, in particular minorities, to think things are better today than they used to be. They want people to think that there's still all this discrimination going on. There's always going to be discrimination by anyone, right? Somebody may come on this stream. They're on YouTube. They see me. I've got a Trump shirt on. They're out of here. I don't like you Trump people. Have they discriminated against us? No. They just don't like me. They don't like you. That's not discrimination. And I'm not even going to try to explain how much better it is for everyone in this country, blacks, women, whites, everyone, today than it was 90 years ago in the 1930s. That's just stupid. But they want minorities in particular to think that no gains have been made, that things are still stacked against them like they were in the 1930s. Hell, in the 1930s, there were still Confederate veterans alive. Okay? So there were still, in the 1930s, there were African Americans alive. They were old, but there were African Americans alive who were actual slaves in their youth. Yeah, of course, things have changed. We've had a black president elected and reelected. We've got a minority woman as our vice president of the United States. The Secretary of Defense currently, Austin. He's an idiot, but he's African American. The list goes on. We don't have to prove to these people. We got this. Who's this woman of the year? Who's the transgendered department person? I'd forgotten the name of that. You know what I mean? So this is just ridiculous. Of course, things are better. And this student. When I was in college, I went to college as an adult. I didn't go as a kid. And I was on the radio then while I was in college. And I would hear professors all the time say things that I knew were crap. Teaching things that were crap. But it was, it's the way it is. I didn't report them. I just dealt with it. I got some negative feedback 2 times, pretty hardcore. I had one professor call me a racist, black professor, But, that's so I didn't report him. But the one of the problems that this generation have, those kids, you sound like old people when you do this, but one of the problems they have is they're a bunch of crybabies. They believe they have a constitutional guarantee not to be offended. And what must it be like to work in human resources at any company today? You've got these snowflakes like this who at any moment in time can be offended and report you or someone else for something. And, they're just not tough. They're just not tough. And it's like when, there's this old saying that's gone now, the customer's always right. That's not the way it works in retail anymore. These snowflake kids, they think they're right, not the customer. And it's got to be, human resources has got to be one of the most difficult jobs that you could possibly ever imagine happening. I just want to tell you one more time here, if you'd like to support me and my content, go to mypillow.com, buy something with my promo code Kane. It supports my YouTube channel, my podcast, the Steve Kane Radio Show when you use the promo code Kane as well. It supports all those things, and of course Mike Lindell. And the MyPillow, which is of course my wife and I both have MyPillows. My daughter has a MyPillow. I know many of you do. Lowest price ever, regular $69.98, which is what I paid for my MyPillow because we didn't have them as a sponsor then. With my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane at mypillow.com, just $19.98. Pretty good deal, lowest price ever. It's a great time to do your Mother's Day shopping. Everything's in stock right now, and these prices are very, very good. The stock will start to run out as we get closer to Mother's Day on some of these items and sizes and colors, and these deals may not all be there, but this is the lowest price ever, $19.98 for the MyPillow. This is the standard MyPillow, which I have. A big deal, big discount on the Giza Elegance pillow. Normally $89.98 with the promo code Kane, Kane, just $29.98. The MyPillow pet beds, we have 2 of these. Our dog, our cat, they love them. 50% off the MyPillow pet beds when you use the promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, as low as $19.99. The mattress topper, 50% off the mattress topper right here with the promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. These are all great deals. The MyPillow bathrobe and slippers, these make great gifts for yourself or as Mother's Day gifts for the mother on your list, your wife, your mom, your grandmother, your daughter. 30% off the MyPillow bathrobe. I have the gray one. My wife has the white one. And, like everything else Mike Lindell makes, the MyPillow bathrobes are very high quality. We've had our robes for a year now, and every time we wash and dry them, they're good as new, just like the day they arrived. Very high quality. The MyPillow My Slippers, 50% off with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And, of course, they come in multiple styles and colors for both men and women. I have the men's tan moccasin slippers over here. But they come in all these different colors, slip-on. They have pink over here for the ladies, women's and men's slip-ons, and 50% off with the promo code Kane at checkout. And of course, yes, you'll see this window pop up when you go to the website that gives you an opportunity to save another $10 off the already great deal you'll get with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And like I said, it's a great way to support Mike Lindell and all of his efforts and everything that I put together, too. This here, I'm not going to talk too much about this one. I just want to mention this. Gay Kiss has been restored to Pixar's Lightyear. There's a movie coming out about Buzz Lightyear. Gay Kiss restored in Pixar's Lightyear because of the staff outrage at the Florida Don't Say Gay bill. Now, this is pretty outrageous. You may have seen there was a huge sex offender arrest in Florida this week, and they arrested some pedos that worked at Disney. Now, they didn't give us a lot of details as to what they did at Walt Disney World here in Florida, but, it's not a good time, I think, for them to be getting involved against that bill when they just had this big sex offender thing. But, here's the thing, okay? This Don't Say Gay bill, I know you guys know about it, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But all it said was quite simply that talk of gender and sexuality are not permitted until after the third grade. So fourth grade, you can do it, but third and below, which is pre-K through third grade, you can't. And the reason that is kids can't, they can't even understand these things at that time. Their minds just don't have the ability to understand it. And, there's a similar thing here with the Gay Kiss in Buzz Lightyear's new movie here. It just doesn't belong. But Buzz Lightyear, it's for young kids. And how young are the youngest that really watch it? 2. I would say this movie will be watched by millions of 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds. And it's just something, it's not about being anti-gay, because I am not. I mean, I support gay rights, but what they're talking about now isn't gay rights. This is a different thing. But the target age for the movie are not at an age where they can understand something like this at this particular time, okay? So it just doesn't belong in the movie. In fact, nothing about sexuality involved. I mean, maybe you should have a love interest, a lady friend or something, I don't know. But it just doesn't belong. And it certainly doesn't belong after they had this big sex offender arrest with Walt Disney World employees. You would think that would get them to back off just a little bit. Just a little bit. Now, this one here, this is some things, now, anybody know who this is? Well, you can see it. So I can't, I'm standing, you probably can figure it out by looking. Yeah, Yuri Gagarin, who is credited as being the first human in space. Now, we don't necessarily know that he was. There may have been another Russian, and it's been rumored that there was another Russian who went to space and didn't survive the return. We don't know. I mean, that hasn't been established 100% historical, but many people believe that there was an astronaut that the Russians sent up before Gagarin who made it to space but didn't survive the return. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but history recognizes him as the first person in space. Look at this. Woke Space Foundation has stripped the name of the first man in space from a fundraiser because he was Russian. And, here's with what's going on in Ukraine. Let me tell you something. When Gagarin went up in space, was it, what year did he go up in space? Was it 61? Was it 61 when Gagarin went up? I want to say 61. But I could be wrong on the date. But was it 61? It had to be 61. They're going to take Yuri Gagarin off the name of something now. He was credited as being a hero of the world by being the first person to travel into space at the height of the Cold War. And the woke liberals at the time didn't seem to mind all of that when the communists were involved in all kinds of massacres and everything else that was going on around this world. But now, because of Ukraine, they're going to take Yuri Gagarin. This is what's very dangerous with the left. What they start to do with their wokester stuff is they're rewriting history. They're rewriting history right before this is textbook George Orwell's 1984. George Orwell's 1984, right? They are rewriting history right before our eyes. And why? To fit whatever the tone is of the time. History is history. If something came out about the great Neil Armstrong today, you wouldn't take Neil Armstrong's accomplishments away from him. They've already done this with Christopher Columbus. Look at this, Christopher Columbus. I know they say he wasn't the first person to make it to the Americas. Well, he was the first person to establish a permanent. If Christopher Columbus is who established the trade routes that led to what we have today. He was the first. Well, somebody had to be first. He may not have been the first European to make it to the Americas, but he was the first the first European to establish to America trade routes, which led to colonies in this great country that we have today. And look at what they've done to that. They've taken that away. In my hometown, Columbus, Ohio, we were talking about last week here on the channel that they took the statue of Christopher Columbus down from Columbus, Ohio. They've taken the Columbus holidays away from our society because they don't like him today, the left and the liberals. And this is what they're doing now, right? They're rewriting history that some of you lived through. Now, Gagarin died in 1968 in a terrible plane crash. This is why Neil Armstrong and others were never allowed to fly back into space after their big flight because of Gagarin's death. But history is what it is. You don't rewrite it and cancel people out because there's some trend going on today, right? Especially when the left had no problem with the Soviet Union. In fact, the Democrat Party were the defenders of the Soviet Union. When that Berlin Wall came down, this is no joke. People will think this is sarcasm, and it's not. When the Berlin Wall came down, the American liberals were sad. They felt defeated. They had lost something. They were crying. Some of you will remember this era with them. And that's not a joke. They really were that far gone. And they always will be that far gone. But Kyle Rittenhouse did something that was, I think, stupid. Let me pull this up. Did you see what he did? When Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted, which by the way, I supported the acquittal and still do of Kyle Rittenhouse. He did what he did in self-defense. I mean, there's no, and you know what? And the justice system agreed with that. He did something, though, that was really stupid, I think. Okay, so this is at Trending Politics. And let me know what you think about this when I show you this, okay? Kyle Rittenhouse blasted Biden an awesome tweet. And, when Kyle Rittenhouse first went, when he first was acquitted, he did an incredible interview with Tucker Carlson, which was a perfect interview. And Tucker and him, it was a great interview. He hit on a lot of important topics, and it was spectacular, right? And then he did a couple other interviews, and it was starting to get a little not so good. And I talked about at the time that he should stop doing interviews, that Kyle Rittenhouse, he did this one interview with Tucker Carlson that should be his statement on everything. Go do his lawsuits, do all that, but take a break, because he's young. He's young, and when you're young like that, you do stupid things. Especially when you're young and newly famous, you do stupid things because you're a kid. Kids do dumb things, you know. And I'm not going to cancel Kyle Rittenhouse for what I'm about to show you, but what he did was ill-advised. If I were around him, if he were my kid and I knew about this, this would not have made it on the Twitter. So anyway, of course, Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted because he wasn't guilty of what he was accused of doing. But the key to his acquittal was his testimony. His testimony was some of the most powerful testimony I had seen from a defendant ever. It was real. It was believable. When he broke down in tears and cried, it was convincing. It was moving. It moved the jury. It moved the judge. It moved those of us that were watching at home. And then he did this, which I think was so ill-advised. So he tweeted this video. And this is Kyle Rittenhouse. He says, "No, it's not Lemonheads. It's the burning hole in my pocket thanks to a Joe Biden presidency." So he made this video. Let me play this video of Kyle Rittenhouse. I think this was stupid of him to do. It doesn't mean that he should not have been acquitted. He should have been acquitted. This means he's a young man who's got a lot of fame. And I did dumb things when I was his age. Oh, boy. Believe me, I did a lot of dumb things when I was his age. And a lot of them were on the radio, because I was on the radio when I was pretty young. But let me show you the video and let me know, do you think this was a smart idea or not for Kyle Rittenhouse? Watch. He's at the gas pump.
That's right, run. We're gonna just take it.
Yeah. It makes it look like his emotional breakdown on the witness stand was fake. You think it was great? I don't think he should have put this up there. It's one thing for somebody else to do it and put it up there of him. I don't think he should have put it up, because this is on his Twitter. You understand what I'm saying? No, it's not. If something like this went viral and you were doing it and I was doing it and others, and even Don Jr., if Don Jr. were to tweet this or put it on Truth, okay, it'd be funny and everything, but he shouldn't be doing it either. Yeah, I know it's the same and been edited, but what I'm telling you is he shouldn't be doing it. It trivializes the whole thing. I don't think so. No. He was very lucky to be acquitted. The odds were not in his favor, like they say in the Hunger Games, right? In the current climate we're in. They were not. Even though the evidence was in his favor, the odds of being acquitted were not. Right? Look at Kim Potter. He could have easily gone to prison. And I just don't think he should. I'm not talking about you or me. If we did this, if we were tweeting out this, it'd be funny, but not for him to do it. So he needs to, when you're young and newly famous and you have exposure to the number of people he does, you can screw everything up like that, But it doesn't change anything. I'm still a supporter of his acquittal, and I hope he doesn't continue to do things like this and discount himself. His court cases are important too, because, we need accountability with the media, and he can help bring some accountability to the fake news media, and this does not help. It's harmless. It's harmless, says Itchy Brain. No, when you're a high-profile conservative person, or I know he may not say he's necessarily conservative because he said some things about Black Lives Matter and stuff. When you're a high-profile person, and he is viewed as a conservative MAGA guy, whether or not he is, because he's a supporter of the Second Amendment, and he'll be identified by this for his entire life, you are held up to a higher standard than just some guy on the street. Liberals are held to no standards. They can do whatever they want. And when you'll hear Hannity talk about this. Rush used to talk about this, and I'm aware of it too. When you have got to be a squeaky clean Marine like Trump. You got to be very careful because they will use whatever they can use against you to discredit and destroy you. And these people on the left, believe me, this is an opportunity for them to do some damage to him PR-wise. This very ill-advised. Just my opinion. Very ill-advised. And well, like I said, it's stupid for him to read. I get that he saw. He didn't create this. I get that he saw it and thought, "Oh, that's cute. It's me. It's funny and everything." But to retweet it, I'm sorry, guys. Well, listen, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to my channel. All right, you'll love my content here. Now, coming up at 6 p.m. Eastern today, my vlog from the American Freedom Tour with Donald Trump and Dan Bongino and Don Jr. and Candace Owens and Kim Guilfoyle will be up here on my channel at 6 p.m. Eastern today. So make sure you check that out. And everyone else, please like the video. When you guys like the video, that helps a lot. It tells the YouTube algorithm to recommend not just this video, but my other content to people that have not yet discovered my channel. That helps me, helps grow my channel, and it also helps get the word out of all the great MAGA positions that we talk about here.